This time, let's do something a little different. Since I've got more Plinken ammo, I'm going to dial 3 and hold 10 in the reticle. I try out that reticle, and I might move that around a little bit and dial less and hold more and just do what I can. But I will have to hold 10 mils for these first couple shots, so I'll be on the bottom of the reticle. Let's see how the glass looks down there. So again, that was on 8 power. The Mirage is really, really heavy, but I can still see this reticle all the way up. Yeah, I can use it 16 power. On 16 power, I can still see the bottom of the reticle. It's not the center of the glass. I think the glass center is more optimized, but it's not bad at the edges. Actually, this is really not bad at all. Let's magnify a little more. Now, on most days, the Mirage is just too much, and today's one of those days. Mirage is just too much. I'm going to back it down a little bit until evening, but 10 to 14 power is such a sweet spot with this scope. Really good for the design of the reticle, too. So if you're going to use magnification in that range a lot, which most of us are, I think this is a nice option. I know people want to know how the optic performs, and part of that is features. It's not everything, but I'm going to tell you that it's incredibly smooth, yet appropriately firm on the diopter adjustment. I like that. I like the texture. I was able to set it up for my eye to get it nice and crisp and tight. There's a similar texture you're going to find on the magnification lever, and it's really smooth. It's not overly firm. I think I had heard someone, their character model might have, and this was like an early production, first run kind of thing. They had one that they felt like it was a little bit firm, but mine is definitely not. It's not loose, but it's not heavy. It's not a heavy amount of effort that I'm putting into this. It's really nice and smooth. It's fit tightly, which is great. It's not moving the rifle around. That's awesome. They did a really good job with that. As I mentioned, the turrets are phenomenal. They sound great. They look good. I like the low profile thing going on. I really, really like those chevrons, or sorry, those elevated lines as they go up to the next mil and half mil line. I think that's a great feature. Illumination is insane with this. It's one of the best I've ever had. Normally I don't name names, but I'm going to say this is as good or better than some of the Zeiss optics that I've run in the past. They have great illumination, and this one is crazy bright. I'm going to say it's absolutely daylight bright, and on a 3 to 18, that was wise thinking on the part of RITON. That's a great design feature, and I easily could use it in, snowy, white conditions where it's very bright, or in the desert. It's super bright. Moving on from illumination, which it does have 6 settings and off in between, by the way. Important to know. Battery housing cap did not come loose when I was working with it. And on the parallax, here's kind of a neat feature. And this is something airgun 22 guys as well as centerfire guys need to know. This allows you to go down to 10 yards, which is excellent for a 3 to 18. Remember, you can go down to 3 power with this guy, and going down to 3 power allows you to take really close shots. And having a parallax that can complement it was also wise thinking. I'm glad to see it's 10 and not 25. I just think it makes more sense on this particular model. And there's no numerical indicators as you go up. It's just a widening line, a fattening line up to infinity, and that's just fine for me. Depth of field on this scope is okay. It's not amazing compared to some scopes, but it's not bad either, and I'm pretty happy with the performance of this scope. If you can't tell, I really, really do like it, genuinely. I know this image isn't going to be perfect because I'm looking at something that's a little bit distant, and parallax isn't set perfectly, but I want the reticle to be the focus of this conversation. So I'm on 8 power. Right now I'm looking at that right there is about 1,075, 1,100 yards, something like that. Let's back down to 3 power. I'm just going to show you 3 power, I can still see that reticle, and I'm going to have my phone try to pick that up again. A little bit better. So on 3 power, I can still see that reticle. I turn on some illumination. Check that out. You can actually see the illumination, and that's on a dull brown background. There's not a lot there to contrast against. Normally with just a black reticle, the thin reticles, you would lose them in that tree line. But with this, with the illumination and the thickness of those lines, I can see it really, really well. Let's go up. There's 4 power. That's what I was shooting on for a little while on that target. And on 4 power, you can see I can actually see some clays down there. I can see a few things. For you, it's going to seem a little more distant. For me, I'll zoom in just a touch. It's going to be a little bigger. The image seems bigger to the actual eye than it does to the camera. Here's 6 power. I'm just going through the indicated ranges on the magnification lever itself. Here's 8 power, and I'm going to adjust the camera just a touch. 8 power, you can see how practical that is. It's amazing. It's really, really surprising how functional a bigger reticle is. I know we've gotten to a lot of tiny reticles nowadays, but I like reticles that can do both. They can do some of the tiny stuff and still contrast well enough to do, you know, pretty much brown, beige, black backgrounds like this. I can pick out where the reticle is at. And on 8 power, I was still seeing my misses just fine in the dirt or in the brush. Now I'm on 10 power. And let's move that camera one more time. So on 10 power, you can see that the actual stadia are all still very centered up in the glass. It doesn't go crazy far. It doesn't obstruct your field of view. Still looks really nice. 12 power. 12 power is probably one of the more practical ranges for any optic. And this one, it starts to be really a sweet spot where I love the reticle. I love the image that I'm getting, and just everything about it seems pretty practical. You can still see some mirage coming off the top of that hill. 14 power. There's 14, and I do have to adjust my camera a little more just to show you that there's still plenty left. There's plenty of room left in the glass. You can see all 10 mils on 14 power. You're starting to pick up that center dot really helps you kind of favor, or what does it do? The reticle really pops. As you can see, 14 power is awesome. Let's go up to 16 power. 16 power also looks very good. And on 16 power, I can still use the full 10 mils of holdover. Illumination is still very comfortable. It's not bleeding. It's just very bright. I'm going to say it's a very sharp piece of glass. It's a very sharp reticle, and the illumination is sharp. And by the time I get to 18 power, you are going to lose a little bit of the image on 18 power no matter what. Let me adjust the parallax for a second just to show you. This whole time, you've been on a little bit more of a foggy picture because I didn't adjust the parallax. But look how crisp that image is at 1,200 yards on a hot, really bad mirage day. I'm going to go a little further on the parallax, and let's go all the way to infinity and then back in. Man, I am just so pleased with that image. That's phenomenal. I am going to be shooting this at further and further distances. Like I said, I almost want 2 of these because I would like to put this on another optic. I just find it to be a very good image. And even if the depth of field isn't the highlight of the scope, it's still plenty good enough where I'm very comfortable using it at extended distances and in a match where you're shooting between 300 and then 800 and you're going back and forth. And sometimes you run a dirty parallax. I still think this has enough depth of field to be functional for the PRS game as well as hunting. If there were birds in that tree, I could identify what types of birds they were, if it was a pheasant or a turkey, if pheasants actually landed in trees, that is. You know what I'm saying, guys. I can identify quite a bit with it. If it was deer, I could probably count the tines on the deer at about 1,200, 1,100 yards, something like that. One more time, starting on 18 power, let me back off to 3 power again. Yeah, definitely not bad. Excellent field of view, really great clarity. I'm pretty happy with this image. I'm happy with the edges of the glass. They're not bad. It's not as perfect as the center is. The center is really good, but the edges are still very functional, and I'm not going to complain about the image on this at all. Even with light gathering, I actually found the light gathering to be pretty decent with this, and I know it's a 50 millimeter objective, but I just didn't find that to punish this optic in too many ways. Back to 14 power, that's where I've been shooting it most of the time today. So I've been shooting this on 14 power, and 14 power is easily enough to spot the misses and all that. I'm going to push it up just for the sake of curiosity. The mirage is really bad today, so I'm not going to live there very long on 18 power, but let's just see what I can do with 18 power, and then I'll back it off pretty low. And again, aiming for a 12-inch target, which just a hair over MOA. I feel like that's pretty fair on a windy day using a 223 round. 13.7, 13.8, somewhere in there is my data. Standard deviation obviously is about probably 2 feet. Okay. Let's see. Trigger felt a little funny on that one. It's the first time I've ever felt it reset that way. Okay, so one thing that's awesome is I can definitely see mirage going right to left right now, which some of my flags started to indicate that way, but they started off going left to right, and then I had to look at the mirage, which is where my bullet is, you know, flying above, and try to get some sort of indication from that. And it looks like mirage is going right to left actually, so it allowed me to think about it and change my direction. That was on 18 power. Let's knock it back down to 12. 12 is very practical. Okay. Now let's knock it down to, let's go to 6 power. That's pretty low. But that reticle looks really good. Still on 6 power, very comfortable with that on a 12-inch target at 1025. And the only problem with that at 1025 is it's hard to see if I'm making impacts or where I'm hitting in the dirt. That's pretty small. I would need more dust cloud to do, you know, a good job with that on 6 power, but the reticle is very usable, and actually all the way down to 3 power. Yeah, even on 3 power, I could use that. And if I had really good data or bigger bullets, basically, I could be making those impacts on 3 power even, and I've done it before on my channel. Watch those videos. I'm very happy with this reticle overall. Well, that's about what I have for you guys today. Yes, I do recommend the 3 to 18. It's already a good scope. I've got the 3 to 24 sitting right over there on a rifle. I still love the 3 to 24. I think that's kind of, in a lot of ways, the flagship model for RITON, or at least it had been. It's a really, really nice piece of glass, and the features on the 3 to 24 are excellent. But what I want to say is the reason I love this scope, not just like it, not just recommend it, I love this scope, is actually that reticle. I know that we're so used to our Christmas trees, and we're afraid, because of the PRS thing, that if we don't have some sort of tree, that we'll have no markers, no indicators, we won't be able to make corrections or something like that. And I just find that's a little bit exaggerated. In practical shooting at ranges with targets like this, I'm able to shoot on relatively low power, and as long as there's some sort of medium that's not just straight up grass, I can still see those impacts and misses really well. I can tell which impact on the steel, you know, especially on 14 power, I could tell which impact on the steel was from this and what was pre-existing there. Color is really good, actually. A 3 to 18 is a very practical range. And I find that for the price, a lot of people probably should be shooting a 3 to 18 instead of something very high power. You do give some things up when you shoot a high power. It's not a free trade. And so I want to recommend to you, if you're looking at getting your first higher end scope or decent quality scope, this is something I can get behind 100%. And if you like bigger reticles, which I do, I like thicker reticles, thicker center dots, especially for gas gun application or that blackout that I was shooting before, I think this scope is better than many, many, many other scopes out there because it does have a reticle that's functional, it's nice and bold. I can use it all the way on low power. I have that near parallax. I can go very, very far. The glass clarity and color, resolution, eye box, they're all sufficient. And I would actually say better than sufficient. This was a really good experience. And I will be letting my friend Trent know over at RITON, please get more optics with this type of reticle out there on the market as we're looking at more MPVOs and things like that. I think this reticle rocks. It did not obstruct or obscure the target too badly. It is a bigger dot and it does cover up a little bit more. But as I get further and further out, rarely will I ever hold directly on the target. That's a very rare occurrence. And sometimes the spin drift will get countered by the wind and it'll actually cause me to hold on the target, but that's so rare. Almost always I'm holding off the target at least 3 or 4 tenths, sometimes 2 or 3 mils. Let me explain a little better. So the vertical holdover without the tree doesn't hold me back because typically I'm going to dial that elevation and hold a little bit of windage. So I have all the windage holds that I'm ever going to need with that optic. And if I have a need for more, I guess I could dial more. I'm not worried about that so much as I used to be. I used to really think and almost demand a Christmas tree in every kind of optic. But now I'm seeing with different types of shooting that a Christmas tree isn't always necessary. Sometimes it's not even an advantage. Sometimes it can hinder you. And with the application and the rifles that I'm going to be putting this optic on, for me, actually I really don't need the Christmas tree and I probably don't even want it. I want what I have right here. And the center dot being so big allows me to use it on low power or pretty high power, and I can favor edges of things still. It's not going to obstruct the target. It's just going to allow me to see it on just about any magnification. Even when I was on 6 power at 1,000 yards, I could favor left and right edge of that 12-inch target or put it right on there. And I plan on running this optic out to a mile. I'm going to do my best to run this little tiny gas gun out to a mile. If it doesn't work there, maybe I'll throw it on one of the other bigger rifles. It would be at home on a bolt action, but I know at the end of the day, more of the tactical crowd is going to like this. They're going to like the footprint, and the application on an AR just makes so much sense for a lot of people. But for me, because of the near parallax, because of the way that the footprint is just very comfortable and it's got huge amounts of internal elevation, there's really no rifle that I'm uncomfortable putting this on. Whether it was my 300 PRC or shooting it on a gas gun or a 22, this might be the most versatile optic and one of the most relevant reticles that I've shot for my kind of shooting, hunting, and maybe even a little competition as well. And so I can recommend it to you. If you guys have any questions, please comment down below. I would love to engage with you on that. If you totally disagree and you think I'm a big dummy, you can tell me that down in the comments. And we probably just have different shooting styles, but I'd love to start the conversation. If you like this video, please hit the thumbs up, maybe share the video. I would really appreciate that. And if you haven't subscribed yet, please do that so you can see more content from RITON. In the meantime, before my next video on this one, if you haven't watched the 3 to 24 video yet from RITON, please watch that now.